In this session, we are going to be creating a pop-up that is linked to our Policy or Document Acknowledgement app. If you are new to pop-ups, I do advise going through the other videos that will explain more in depth. This video is purely to show you how to use the Policy feature. In CLA, you click on Modules, Pop-ups. If you are following along in a manual, we are working on the section called Creating a Policy Pop-up. The Manage Pop-up screen will open. We are going to use the Create Wizard feature, which will take us step by step through setting this up. If you click on Create Wizard, you'll see at this point, step number 1 asks you for your pop-up link type. In other words, what the pop-up will open once you click on it. At this point, your Creating Pop-ups wizard shows that we're on step 1 of 12. If, however, we do select the Policy Link Type option, it does change to become step 1 of 17. On step 1, the first thing you need to do is browse to the policy that you're wanting to embed in this acknowledgement app. It does need to be a PDF document. So if we click on Browse, on your PC, you browse to where you have saved the policy and you insert it. It does warn that it's exceeded the maximum recommended size, which is fine. Had it exceeded the maximum allowed size, it would not allow you to continue with the import. You've got a preview option, so if you want to double check that you have attached the correct document, you can click on preview and it will open that PDF document that you have just attached. Right. Finished with step number 1, you click on Next. It will take you through to step number 2. Step number 2 is the title of the pop-up. This is the delivery method for your policy. It is the pop-up that's going to arrive first. So in this case, we're going to title our pop-up Return to Work Policy. Right. You are able to change the font size, the font color. Next. Your pop-up text, it's the text that is going to appear on the pop-up itself. So in this case, we're going to put, please click here to read the updated Return to Work policy. And again, you can change your font style using the taskbar at the top. Step number 4, you need to select the icon that's going to display on the pop-up. We can use the standard icons, we can use a custom icon, or choose not to show an icon at all. We're going to just use the standard information icon and proceed to step number 5. Step number 5 is the date and time range that you'd like this policy to deliver to your end users, giving them the opportunity to obviously receive it, read it, and then accept or acknowledge that they have received it. Do try and keep the date ranges as wide as possible. We are going to run this from today. We'll run it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks until the 15th of September. We wanted to start delivering when people log on in the morning, or start trying to deliver from 8 o'clock in the morning until close of business, 5 o'clock. So each day between now and the 15th of September, between the hours of 8 and 5, CLA will attempt to deliver this pop-up. It says that it is scheduled to start in a date or time that is passed already, because today 8 o'clock is already passed. So you just click on OK and it will proceed to step number 6. Step number 6 is the title of the policy. So we are going to title our policy Return to Work Policy. Click on Next. The policy introduction. So this is the introduction message that you're going to give your end user about the policy, be it a summary, the importance of reading and acknowledging it, whatever you'd like to put into your introduction. So with the ongoing changes and amendments of regulations of specific lockdown levels, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the return to work policy has recently been updated with important information. Please take a moment to read through and familiarize yourself with these changes. Policy responses. These are the radio buttons that you are going to allow a user at the end of the policy. So in this case, I'm going to give a user two different options. The first option that I'm going to give is I confirm that I have read, understood, and accepted its contents. Or the second option, I do not understand, please contact me for more information. Right. The next step is your policy settings. So these are the steps that control the additional settings and parameters for the policy. So the first thing you need to decide, are you going to allow the user to save a local copy of the policy to their device? If you click on yes, the end user will have a button that says save a copy. If no, that button would not be visible. So we're going to click on yes. Should the user supply their details, e.g. name, surname, email address? So if you click on yes, the end user would be prompted to put in all their information. Otherwise, they will not be prompted to put in their information, but you would be able to get this from the report. Right, policy critical after snoozes. Works the same way as your survey and your pop-up. Basically, you allow a certain number of snoozes before this policy becomes critical. The end user would be able to snooze the policy, let it return at a later time or date when they then perhaps have better capacity to go through it. We are going to allow 2 snoozes on this policy. The critical date and time. If you would prefer that it is snoozable as many times as the user wishes up to a certain point in time, you are also able to configure a date and time that it becomes critical rather than after a number of snoozes. The skin that is going to be used for the policy, at the moment, we've got the default skin selected, which looks like that. If you do want to import a custom skin so that your policy skin looks different, you would be able to import it into this drop-down list. Next. Your policy conclusion is the final screen that people will see after they have acknowledged their policy. We are going to say thank you for taking the time to read through and complete this policy. The results will be kept on file with HR. Right. If you are wanting to put in an email address for an inquiry, you're able to. If you're wanting to put a URL in, so access the full policy, maybe it links through to your intranet, you're able to put that through as well. I'm actually going to add to this. If you have any questions, please email them to the below email address. I'm just going to put mine in for now. Okay. Next. So this is now for the pop-up. So please define how much flexibility the user is allowed when the pop-up arrives. So is the pop-up going to be snoozable? You cannot dismiss a pop-up linking to a policy because the reason you are setting up the policy and asking for acknowledgement is that people actually need to get as far as seeing the policy itself. We're going to select snoozable. Because we have made our policy auto-critical after 2 snoozes, the same setting applies to the pop-up. So a pop-up would also only be able to be snoozed twice. and you are able to define the amount of time that they are able to snooze that pop-up for. You're able to define the pop-up position. So whereabout on the end user's screen would you like that pop-up to appear? Bottom right is the standard that most environments are configured with, but you are able to select the middle center if you would prefer that this pop-up arrive in the middle of a person's screen or any other one of the quadrants that are specified here. We're going to select bottom right and click on next. The pop-up skin, you're either able to use the default skin, which in this case looks like that. Alternatively, you could also use a custom skin as with any other pop-up. Right, a policy cannot be set to repeat daily or repeat weekly. You don't want users to receive a policy every single day, whether or not they have acknowledged it. You only want them to receive it until the point that they've acknowledged it, and then it must not return. So do not repeat is what is selected. You cannot change it when you're setting up a policy. Step 15 is the targeting screen. So in this case, we're just going to target the group called CLA All Users. Because we want everybody within the organization to receive it. You can target individuals, maybe people that have just joined the company. You want to target them with all the policies because they're new, or perhaps it's just a certain group of people that the policy applies to. If you need more information on this targeting screen, please refer to the video on Targeting Explained. The right-hand side represents our target audience. Click on Next and it goes to step number 16. Step number 16 is the Who is Targeted report. This tells you upfront what your anticipated exposure is to the audience that you have selected. So I've selected a group that contains 9 users. Of those 9 users, only 3 of them are currently active on CLA, which means at best, I can expect to reach 3 users because a user needs to be active on CLA to be able to receive the content. If you're wanting to export this report, you can have the other 6 users that are not active on CLA escalated to IT so that they are also going to be included when this pop-up delivers. I click on Next, gives you a little preview of the pop-up that is going to deliver the policy. Your final screen appears. If there are any steps that you're not happy with, if you're wanting to change the size or color of the title, for instance, you are able to go back to the step that you're wanting to change, select it, make the change that you want. Perhaps I wanted it bigger. Go back to the final screen. Once I'm happy that it looks the way I want it to look, I click on Finish. At that point, it is going to put the pop-up that I have just created that is delivering my policy into the left-hand grid. If it is due to start in the future, it would be in your pending pop-ups drop-down list. Currently, we're on active pop-ups, which means that it has an effective date that includes today. To preview the pop-up, you click onto the pop-up so that it activates it on the right-hand side, and you click on the preview button at the bottom. Once you've clicked on the preview button, the pop-up will arrive, and I'll take you through the various aspects of it, just to show you what displays where and how the Policy Acknowledgement app looks and works. Okay, once it arrives, you see it's on the skin that we specified. That is your pop-up title. That is your pop-up body, the icon that you chose to use. The snooze options are the ones that we selected. If I click onto the policy itself, Your return to work policy opens. Save a copy. Because we gave users the opportunity to save a copy of the policy, it shows that there are 2 snoozes remaining. Introduction, policy title. If I click on next, it shows you the actual embedded policy. You are able to click on full screen should the writing be too small to read. So you are able to see it full screen. Your next button is disabled. You cannot proceed until it says here, please note that you need to read to the end of the policy to be able to continue. So until you have actually gone through the entire policy to the bottom, those are the captions that you specified. I confirm that I have read, understood, and accepted its content, or I do not understand. Please contact me for more information. Your user would need to select one of those options before the next button becomes enabled. They can then proceed to the conclusion screen. If you have any questions, please email them to the below email address. It is hyperlinked. If you do click onto the email address, it does open an email to this person. Click on Finish, and at that point, the policy will not return. If, however, during the process you see that you have perhaps made a spelling error or there's something that you'd like to change, you are able to change any parts of that policy by clicking onto the pop-up, clicking onto your Modify wizard. It reopens up all your steps. If it were the policy introduction that you noticed it in, you would go into your policy introduction. Perhaps you want to add a space there. Once you've made all your changes, you click on Apply and OK. Preview the pop-up again. Happy for it to go live. If the testing has been successful, you select that pop-up, you click on Promote to Live, type in your password, and that pop-up would now be promoted to live. Just like with your other pop-ups, you cannot change the visual aspects of the pop-up once it is promoted. So please do make sure that you test and confirm that everything is in order before promoting it to live.